to everyone. You're welcome to another episode of Issues in the Polity on King Media, where we try to bring in every topical current affairs issue on board to discuss it such a way that every individual will understand what that policy or what that issue is all about. Because the essence of communication is that when we bring out information, any message, the people who are intended to get the message must be able to understand it well. So we are like a medium explaining to people what government policy is, what an issue is, so that they can have better understanding of what the issue is all about. That is what Issues in the Polity is talking about on King Media. My name is Fauzia Salakosoni. Today on the program, as usual, we have our guest and we have a topic we want to look at in today's edition of the program. The topic is we will know that when this present government came into place, into power, one of the first steps the government took was to remove the fuel subsidy. And when this happened, a whole lot of things generated issues. So to this end, the government feel it is possible and it is important that something that will bring succor to the citizenry is put in place. So we're talking about the issue of palliative, is workability, the structure, and the impact of these palliative programs that the state government and even the federal government, all stakeholders are trying to put in place for Nigerians to bring succor to the economic hardship and every other hardship that people are actually going through today. So today on the program, our guest is going to be Mr. Aziz Adeosun. Mr. Aziz Adeosun is a sociologist and a public policy analyst. Good day to you, Mr. Adeosun, if you can hear me. Good morning. You're welcome to Issues in the Polity on King Media.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, King Media. Thank you for having me to this morning. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. We are very pleased to have you to share your wealth of knowledge with Nigerians and beyond on this issue. Now, let me start the program this way, sir. What we're talking about is the workability, the structure, and the impact of the palliative programs government is putting in place. In a clear term, sir, when we say palliative, what is the concept of palliative, and what is it meant to achieve anytime it's bring forth?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah. In a simple term, as you
Mm,
said, what does palliative means? Palliative is a medical term that
okay.
is used to, you know, um, look for a treatment, a temporary treatment for a particular disease
Mm,
or ailment, a temporary treatment, which does not necessarily mean it cures the entire ailment. So it is just, so in this context, the government palliative, it's just a measure to reduce people's suffering. You understand? Just to mitigate people's suffering, not to entirely eradicate the suffering, but to mitigate, reduce the suffering of the people caused by the fuel subsidy removal. So now the palliative is meant, you understand, to at least because in this case, the first subsidy removal, the government, according to them, has a long-term plan to, make use of those funds generated from the first subsidy, make use of them to, create infrastructure, good road infrastructure, electricity, and so many other amenities. But those things are long term. These are things that will take years, let's say 2, 3, 4 years. You understand? So in a short time, while this thing is ongoing, the government needs to come in to at least assist people in areas in which the subsidy has affected them. And we can all see around us the first subsidy has really affected in areas of food production, food scarcity, all cost of food production has gone up. So the government came in, by bringing some measures to ameliorate people's suffering, to say, okay, let's give people some kind of relief. So it is a measure to give people relief. So palliative in this case, there are a lot of palliative the government has suggested, like such as the rice palliative given to the people, the 8,000 naira monthly stipends for poor households, and so on. And people have come out to disagree with these policies. Meanwhile, disagreeing with these policies has to be reviewed. Are we disagreeing with the palliative itself, or are we disagreeing with the method in which the palliative will be distributed? So, as far as I'm concerned, the palliative, it's a welcome idea from the government. This will relieve the people from a lot of suffering they are facing presently. Okay, now let's take for instance, and one thing I want people to understand is that
Okay.
when we see
Okay.
government, this issue in our own locality. We are not saying, okay, because I am a Yoruba man, the government is only catering for me. When we say federal government palliative, let's have it in mind that this thing cuts across the country. And the government is saying we want to reach out to the vulnerables, to the poor. A lot of people are not poor in this country. Yes, I can say it. Some people can still afford a meal, a day meal, while a lot of people still can't afford just one day meal. So these are people the government are saying, okay, let's reach out to them and give them something at least to keep them busy for the time being, when we'll get the long-term projects done. So that is palliative, and that is the impact it is meant to. So let's look at the 8,000 naira household stipends.
Okay.
People has
Okay.
come out to say this shouldn't be. Why shouldn't it be? You are looking at yourself to say, what can 8,000 naira do for me? No, it is not about
Mm.
you. The government has said the poor people of the country. When you go to some northern part of the country, when you come to some southern parts of the rural part of the country, you will know that 1,000 naira matters a lot to people. 1,000
Yeah.
naira can feed a household. So the government are not saying you particularly. Meanwhile, let's look at it holistically. The amount that will be pumped out for these stipends is estimated to be 50 billion naira. In a simple term, it means government is adding 50 billion to the money in circulation. This will directly or indirectly still affect everybody, because there will be more money in circulation. When the poor people get this money, they will spend, they will buy this, buy that. The money is coming back to us. So it is not just about the poor people alone. It comes back to the people. So I think it is a welcome idea from the government. The only question and what we will analyze here is what is the method the government is going to use,
Wow.
because people don't
Thank you
trust the
very much,
government.
Mr. Thank you very much, Mr. Adeosun, for that elaborate, very explicit definition of what palliative is and how it should. That's next one I want to ask. Having understood that this is what palliative is, okay, it's for a short time to bring succor to people in because of hardship and things like that. What strategies, what ways, are there standard ways or a globally acceptable way of putting up palliative for people to remove this hardship from there? Are there certain ways such that the impact of that palliative will actually be felt by the people of such country? Especially, let's take Nigeria as an example.
Yes, we can say there are ways, there are standards in which countries use, to bring about these so-called palliatives. But here in Nigeria, it is rather unfortunate that some of these things are not well placed on ground. Because when we look, okay, let's ask ourselves, when last did Nigeria conduct the the population census? So it means we
Census.
cannot accurately say this is the number of people we have in Nigeria. So, and these are the yardstick that will be used to say, okay, we want to give so amount of people this thing. How many people are you recommending? We can't say. So that is why we don't have a standard measure of Nigerian population. Now, the second thing is, okay, let's say, for as the government has done it, these palliatives are going through the state government to the local government downward. Now, people don't have trust in the state government. This is
Mm.
where the problem comes in. Some governors, we can make reference to the pandemic era, the COVID-19 era. During the COVID-19, we have states where the palliative that were meant to be given to the vulnerables, to
Mm.
people, are being they were ordered somewhere,
Audit.
to the extent that people discovered and began to loot, and it even resulted in some commercial looting. So these are instances the people will look at to say, no, we don't trust we don't trust government, especially the state governors, in sharing these palliatives, because one, there will even be also what we call favoritism in
Mm.
this whole thing. How will it get to the targeted people the federal government
Exactly.
wants? You understand? So these are the kind of issues we need to look into. So if only the state government, the federal government, and in this case, permit me to say, the CDAs in our communities. Well, I'm sure of Southwest. Well, I believe we have them across all over Nigeria. The CDAs has a lot of roles to play in this case, in distributing the
Palliative.
palliatives. So if this, so permit me to just add the CDS to the so-called government. If there is sincerity of purpose to say, oh, our people are suffering, and the federal government have taken the bull by the horn to say, okay, let us support them. Let's help them by giving them something to relieve them for a short period of time, not a long period of time. So if there is sincerity of purpose, I believe it will have a positive impact in us, because let's take the rice for example. Someone there's an adage that says, and a hungry man is an angry man.
Angry man.
Someone
Yeah.
who is, yes, someone who is hungry, how do you expect such person to think positively? How do you expect such person to go out to source for, such person can go through any dubious ways to feed the family. But when there is sincerity of purpose from the governor, okay, like for instance in Ogun State, the method used by the state governor is through the local government. The rice food palliatives was distributed to the local government, while the local government distributed it to through the CDAs, the councillors representing each ward of the community. You understand? So this is how it was distributed. Though the international standard is not like that. In
Mm.
international standard, there are technology. Okay, in Nigeria, I can still say it for free that we have people who doesn't have phone, who doesn't have a SIM, who doesn't have bank accounts, and these are things one can use to say, okay, now the government is saying this 8,000 naira food house uh, stipends will be shared through cash transfer. This is where I have problem. That if you are sharing this through cash transfer, there are a lot of local governments in the north that doesn't have bank.
Mm.
You will need to travel miles before you can withdraw cash, before you can withdraw. You understand? So how do you expect this money to get to these people? You understand? So these are areas we need to look at. The government, I'm happy they are reviewing it actually. So the government needs to do a lot of review so that this support will not go into the wrong hands.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adeosun. We are on issues in polity, and we'll be talking about the workability, the impact of these palliative programs on Nigerians. You mentioned ways, if it's going to be standard, things that we don't have on ground in Nigeria. For instance, like you have mentioned in the north, in some of the local government, there are people who do not even have access to bank where they want to, if they want to send the money. So in this case, how can government actually evaluate and be sure that the people targeted that this palliative needs to get to, how can we be sure that it gets to them? How would the government be so sure that this program we're setting out, we are pushing out, is actually touching the lives that we need to do for them to touch their lives? You have said sincerity of purpose. It doesn't have to be with we human beings or the structure. How can government evaluate the impact of this to Nigerians?
Thank you very much. It boils down between the two, we humans and the structure. Because in Nigeria, even a functioning structure, we sabotage it in Nigeria. Even when we have a working structure, people, because of their selfishness, because of their greed, they will intentionally sabotage the structure. Now, for instance, the government, Ogun State, as a case study, has put in place some structures to, distribute these palliatives. Structure like the government and the community structure, the bodies of people, the registered body of people like the CDAs, like the governor of Ogun State, Prince Dr. Dapo Abiodun. He appointed, I think last year he appointed what is so-called the social investment assistants. These social investment assistants are appointed, I think, five per community throughout the state, and their duty is to give the government the feedback of who the people when the government is about to make a policy that concerns the people. They are expected to give recommendation on how it concerns the people. They are expected to share, for instance, this palliative to the grassroots, to people who are in need of it. Now, government is a representative of us. If I get there as an individual, how will I represent my people? It is the same way I'm representing them now in the community. You understand? So the government needs to put up a working structure. Well, anyway, I believe if the government wants to do something, they will actually do it. And I've seen people in the community who received this rice palliative. You understand? So this is a working structure. Now, the plea we will make to people, even as a community leader, when you get this thing, don't just audit for your family. Look at people who are vulnerable in your community. You know best, so you give it to them, because as the Yorubas will say, if these people suffer, it will bounce back on you. This is why we have criminal in the community, because about a few days ago, in my own community, a house was burgled. And to my surprise, valuables like electronics, gold, raw gold were found in those houses, and they were not stolen. Foods, it were food that were stolen. Bottle of granuts, foodstuffs that were inside that were stolen. So this will tell you how much people are hungry. How the what concerns people now is, let me eat first. When I feed myself, feed my family, then I'll know what next to do. So when there is sincerity of purpose, I think things will work better for us.
All right, thank you very much. Looking at the lifespan of the palliative structure, that, like I've said earlier on, that is not a long-term something, it's just for a while. If for that short while, and it seems that the people are still hungry, more assistance needs to be given to them. at this junction? What should government do? I'm looking at a scenario whereby a palliative structure can still be a kind of a continuous process. Maybe it's a monthly thing, because definitely those palliative that are given to people, if you have a family about 7 in the family and you have about a 5 kg of rice or gari put in a carton and given to them, within 1 month, I'm very sure they are likely to exhaust everything. If this is
By
finished
not even
and
up
people
to
are
one
still
month.
filled with hardship, what is going to happen, Mr. Odelsho?
Yeah, actually, as I've said, it is a short-term measure. However, it is relative. Because it is short-term does not necessarily mean it must last for a month. Short-term might be for a month, might be for a year. If, in my own opinion, it is rather best for us to be in short term. That is when we, the people, will be able to measure that, okay, the government is doing what they need to do. Because this palliative, it is as a result of relief for us. Okay, take this for the meantime, for the time being when we have a working refinery, for the time being when we have a perfect electricity supply. Take this for the time being when we have a very good road channel. You understand? So when these palliative are taking much longer time, when they are taking longer time, it means those long-term projects goals are not being met. So it is a deficiency in that aspect. And back to your question, if before these projects are ready, if there are needs for government to still continue with this palliative, then so be it. The government has to continue, because now uh, even this palliative of a thing does not really matter if it is food, like the 8,000 naira monthly stipends to household. It is projected to be for 6 months. You understand? It is projected to be for 6 months. So from now to 6 months, a responsible government, a responsive government should have by then gotten to a larger extent of the capital projects. You understand? And when this is happening, the people we have confidence. Why are we asking for this thing? It is not we as Nigerians, as citizens, we work. We have our daily activities. We have our means of earning money. Why we are asking for this capital project is for this standard of living, for our activities to be eased. The farmer who is bringing food from the rural area must have a good road network to the urban area. This is what we are expecting the federal and state governments to do. You understand? So in the course of doing this, okay, you as a farmer take fertilizer for the time being to assist your crops. Take this to assist your crops. So if this is taking too much time, let's say a year or two, it means the government is not doing what they ought to do about the road. So in my opinion, it shouldn't take even much time before it is done. Though if if needs be, if it is necessary, then the government has to continue. The salary increment is also a measure, a way of making things right. Though that is not a palliative, because it is not a temporary measure. Salary increment is something that will be reviewed for after 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So to me, that is not a palliative. That is a standard way of doing things. So as you've asked, except the government is not serious, the food palliative or every other little palliative, though it can be reviewed as time goes on, these little palliatives need not to take too much time, like a year and above. So far, the government is doing what they need to.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Aziz Adeoshun. We've been speaking with Mr. Aziz Adeoshun, a sociologist and a public policy analyst. And we've been looking at the structure, the workability, and impact of palliative programs that are being given to Nigerians by Nigeria government. Mr. Adeosun, I know there is an agency called the National Orientation Agency of government. For people who sometimes, even those people you are giving this palliative to, some hoard it, they take it so much that at the end of the day, some sell them to some people. Then this agency, what do you think can be its role in enlightening both the masses and those structures that are on ground that needs to take care of this program before we move to the next stage?
Um, I'm sorry to say, I'm
Mm,
so sorry to say, this has been my stand for a very long time.
mm,
That one of the I don't want to use the word that will seem insulting, but
mm,
one of the agencies that are lacking behind in their responsibilities, as far as I'm concerned, is
mm.
the National Orientation Agency. Because there are a lot of in fact, these are one of the things the people need. We need to be given a
Exactly.
yeah, the good orientation we need. When government brings up policy, let me tell you for free. There was once upon a time I don't know anything about this subsidy, and I went against it
Mm,
because I don't know what the subsidy is all about. I just heard people saying, no, don't remove subsidy, and I also joined them in saying don't remove subsidy for subsidy. You understand? So these are things the National Orientation Agency ought to be doing. Where are they? By now, there should have been a lot of campaign about, you
yeah.
know, we are in the era of social media. It shouldn't just they shouldn't limit the activity on the national on the government televisions alone. There are a lot of social media platforms where people can be given orientation. I think the National Orientation Agency is not doing enough in giving the people right information
Information.
they need.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Aziz Adeosun. That's how much we can take on the program. But before we leave the program, Mr. Adeosun, what would be your parting words to Nigerians, government of Nigeria at all levels, and making sure, ensuring that this palliative actually brings succor to the masses? Because every stakeholder in Nigeria has a lot to do. As Nigerians, we are collecting the palliative Nigeria structure personnel that are bringing out this palliative. What will be your parting word before we leave the program today, sir?
Well, in brief, first of all, to the people, I will implore the people to be patient. You understand? To be
Mm,
patient. Fine. If the future is determined only by what happened in the past. So looking backward to what has happened in the past, a lot of people don't trust government. There might be a policy
mm,
that is very laudable. Oh wow, this is a very good policy. But what is the aftermath of those policies? How does
exactly.
government, bring about those policies? So this time around, I believe that we have a government that has the love of the people at heart. So we the people just need to, follow the government, trust on the government. You understand? And we are also the government of our household. Let us do the right thing at our house, in our household, in our community. This is how the trend will go to the government. And to the government can now see for themselves that the people are now becoming wiser. The people are now
Yeah.
speaking up for themselves, right from what happened, different things that happened during the election and before. So the government needs to, put themselves on toes to make things right. Check agencies who are not doing what they ought to do because there are a lot of saboteurs in government. So
Mm.
my parting word for the government is just have that sincerity of purpose I mentioned earlier. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aziz Adeosun, a
Uh,
sociologist and a public policy analyst. We appreciate you for sharing your wealth of knowledge to us on to the people on issues in the polity. Thank you so much. I will hope when we'll call you next time for another episode of the program on another topic, you'll be willing to be here to enlighten our people.
I'm at your service anytime, any day, inshallah.
Thank you very much. And that's how much we can
Thank you
take
for
on the
having me.
issue, the polity today on the program. We have spoken about the structure, the workability, and the impact of palliative programs as Nigerian government at all levels are bringing it out to Nigerian people to bring succor to the economic hardship and other things that we're going through due to the fact that the first subsidy has been removed. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us on Issues in the Polity this week. Join us again next week for another fresh episode where we'll be bringing in another guest and another topic. If you have not followed us, try to follow us on all our social media handles on our Twitter, Facebook, our Instagram, and YouTube. Continue to subscribe on our YouTube page. Till I call your way next week, thanks to the producer of the program. And my name is Fauzia Salakoswani. Next week we come again. Bye bye for now.